What's going on, everybody? Don here, and today I have my One Piece Kaido deck list. I think this is the best deck in the format. Now, I'm going to go over the deck. Once I'm done going over the deck, I'm going to give you guys my opinions as far as some of the card choices. This deck is similar to the deck that recently came second place at the PPG Case tournament. I made a couple of changes, and I'll go over all that after this list, so make sure to check it out. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe button, comment down below. I'm also going to be playing this deck on my locals this weekend. I go to a couple of locals, so I'll have some gameplay footage of this deck coming up to this channel later on this week. Right out the gate, we play 4 10-drop Kaido. These are the bombs of the deck. We play 3 7-drop King, 2 9-drop Kaido, and 1 King. Alright. After that, for our events, we're going to play 4 Blast Breath, 4 Thunder Bagua, and we're also going to play 4 Brachio Bomber. Then we're going to play 4 Onigashima Island, of course. That's like in every build. Alright. For our 2Ks, you got your, I'll put it over here, your Sasaki and your X-Drake. These are your 2Ks. For our blockers, though, we also have 4 Queen, 4 Black Maria. I can only find 3. Is there a 4th one around here? Oh my god, stuck. 4 Black Maria, and we got 4 of Kurozumi. So these are all the blockers you're going to need. And the final set is going to be Basil Hawkins. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, this is a copy, almost, with a couple of changes of the deck that got second place. And I really do like this build a lot. And I really understand this build by playing it a lot more. I've been testing with it a lot, and I kind of like the mentality of this deck list. So right at the gate, we obviously know that Kaido is a deck that manipulates Don. That's like the whole shtick of it. But for every Kaido list, you're pretty much independent on, well, Onigashima Island. It's pretty much the card you're going to need in order to play Kaido. If you don't have it, well, you kind of lose, right? Not necessarily. Cards like Basil Hawkins are really good to bring out on the 4 curve. The same curve you would bring out on Onigashima Island. Obviously, Island's better, but this will help you ramp by 1. Also, if it's brought out as a trigger, you just get to play it and ramp by 1 as well. And that's kind of the theme of this deck. You're going to notice there's a lot of cards, just by default on trigger, you're going to be able to get free Don. So this is one, we'll put that to the side. Normal Kaido lists play the other 2-drop Black Maria blocker. I don't, and I understand why the guy who created this list originally decided not to do that. Because these are susceptible to getting just blasted out the way so your opponent can smack at your face. If you're playing against any that's red, they're going to run the 5-drop Luffy and smack directly at your face again. So this card isn't as good. But don't get me wrong, this is still a great card to drop in the game early on. Black Maria is also pretty much in the same situation, except that it has more power, so it can last a little bit longer. It is 5, neg down 1, you do get a 6,000, which can be kind of handy. She's also a counter 1,000. And then, of course, you got Queen. This is probably one of the best cards mid-game. It's your draw card. It's going to help you get into your 10-drop Kaido. And Onigashima Island, ideally, is a card you're probably going to be mulliganing for if you don't initially draw this card. So I find a lot of Kaido lists like to play like low King amount, and we'll talk about that in a second, the low 10 drops, which just blows my mind away. Another card that's really cool is Brachio Bomber. Brachio Bomber can get rid of any 6 character cost as a 6 cost itself, and you can go ahead and take a Don and set it as active. Now the cool thing about it is trigger is add 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active as well. So it kind of helps you ramp as well as you're taking damage. Most Kaido lists and Kaido plays will tell you the sweet spot for a Kaido player life-wise is to be at 2 before even considering defending. Maybe 3, but ideally 2. And the reason why is because you can use a card like Thunder Bagua. Now this is probably one of the best cards. For 2, you give a lead of 4K. And after doing that, you're going to go ahead, if you have 2 or less life, you can take a Don and set it and rest it. But its trigger is add 1 Don from your Don deck and set it as active. So Thunder Bagua is a really cool card. It allows you to, once again, manipulate Don, and you got to be low on life to really get that other effect of it. But the cool thing is, once again, if you get it off a life trigger, you get a free Don just for doing that. Same thing like Brachio Bomber, same thing like Basil Hawkins. Then we have 4 Blast Breath. Now, this is the card you want to play pretty much late game. You really don't want to do this early game. You really don't care about losing life early game. I really don't care as much, so this is a card I personally like, but I like it way later on in the game, after 10-drop kind of was touched down on board, and you don't care about re-ramping up to 10 at that point. So we do play 8 of the 2K blockers. I think every build needs to have at least 8. Some are even going as high as 12 of the 2K counters in their deck, but I think 8K counters, 8 2K counters is more than what you need. All right, so we'll go into 6-drop King real quickly. The reason why 6-drop King is here only at 1, a lot of decks I at least play 2 of, some even play more, is because it's not the ideal card you want. It's decent, but not amazing. I think 7-drop King's infinitely better, and I'll explain why 7-drop King is so perfect in a second. I'll just leave that right there for now. We do play 2 of the 9-drop Kaido. That just makes perfect sense. Once again, it's good, not as good as 10-drop, but definitely good to put pressure on, especially after you drop the 10-drop. Then 9-drop's really good as well. Obviously, you can't do it the following turn because of how Dawn works, but still a good card nonetheless. And then we play 4 10-drop Kaido. So the reason why this is a 4 of and must have 4 of is because when you play Kaido, this is how you're going to win your games. You're not going to win your games by playing like a mid game. Your mid game's garbage. Your early game's garbage. You're not Red Zoro. And your late game, well, if you're hoping on 6s and 9s for your late game, you're going to quickly get blasted by your opponent. You need 10-drop Kaido. Can you play late game with these other cards? Sure, but 10-drop Kaido's the card you're going to want to play that's going to win you the game. It's going to clear your opponent's board out. Against Law, this card by itself wins the game. Against decks like Red Zoro, they better have follow-up or the game is basically over. And I mean it. I think 10-drop Kaido is so important. Against other decks like Useless Kid and Doflamingo, they really put a lot on board to try to end you as fast as possible before this comes out. But the second this comes out, a lot of decks just don't have an answer to this card as well. So I do think 10-drop Kaido is a great card. I do think a lot of players are sleeping on this card. And I think this card is at minimum 3. You pretty much want to get 4. Don't worry about this one. I'm getting the other parallel soon. But you really want to get 4 of these Kaidos in your deck. You want to put them to work immediately because the minute you ramp faster to 10 than your opponent, which you're always going to do, this is how you're going to win your games. Now, the reason why I tripled up on King over on the 7 over than the 6, because I like the way it ramps perfectly. So, if you do have Onigashima Island, and you do drop 10-drop Kaido, it's a Don neg 6. You'll go neg 5 when you activate your Onigashima Island. Anamagusha, whatever you say his name, the island. After doing that, your next turn, your 5 becomes 7 active, and we have 7 active, King becomes pretty much available immediately to use. And I like that because King gets rid of 2 cards. He gets rid of a card with a cost of 3 or less, and a card with a cost of 2 or less, or for 7 Don neg 2. Now, the reason why it's so important is because when you're playing against any other deck like Law, well, or any other deck, their best blockers are the low ones. They're cheap, they're easy to put out, they can start rebuilding the board up, and this is basically how you get rid of those blockers. You get rid of small blockers like with this guy, so you can swing with this guy. I think this is probably the best game plan for the deck. You go 10, you curve in the 7, and now your opponent has to deal with a 7k and a 12k. Yes, you're at low on life, but once again, we have cards like Thunder Bagua. We have cards like Brachio Bomb to help clear stuff out. We have cards like Blast Breath. We have so many ways to protect you all at the same time while you're just going ahead and breaking your opponent's board. And if your opponent doesn't have a good enough board, the game's already going to be over. Once again, a lot of decks can't deal with 1 12k. Imagine if you get another one on board. Like, that's a realistic thing. Once again, guys, if you want to see this kind of deck in action, I'm going to be playing this deck on my locals. I will record it. I will have it out on this channel. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell and all that stuff. Check it out. I do have Kaido. I'm going to be having, I think I might do Zoro next. And we should dedicate a ton of time to find out what's the best build of Zoro. So I'll have that coming out next. But right now, Kaido is, in my opinion, the best deck in the game. I think the only deck that can beat Kaido is Zoro, in my opinion. Maybe Law, depending if they get a good draw. But realistically, Zoro is probably one of the best decks to beat Kaido. And we'll talk about Zoro next week, and then we'll start talking about other decks. But I really like Kaido a lot. Hopefully, you guys do as well. Hopefully, you understand how insanely good this deck is. This deck will win you games for free just by playing 1 card. No deck in the game can say that except Kaido. Once again, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. Hit the like button, subscribe button, comment down below. This is the Don. I'll see you guys later.